Good morning and welcome to On the Bench with Big Jim. This is Jim Nielsen, and we are here. I'm excited because I've known this young man since he was in high school, and we're gonna have fun today. Visiting with Israel Silva, assistant wrestling coach at Fresno State University. Fresno State, blessed with the fact that they got their program back, and we're gonna bring Israel in right now. We're gonna on this day. It's a beautiful Friday, folks. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Like and share the video, and we're gonna get on it right now. Good morning, Coach Silva. How you doing today? Can, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Let's get you set. There you go. I can see you now. Good. So, you're busy on the road recruiting. It just seems to never slow down for you, does it?
No, it's definitely a full-time job. We're busy with the college season in the fall and the winter, and then once we're done with that, we're on the road
You,
with international wrestling and recruiting.
yeah. But you went from the NCAA season and then NCAA championships that were just absolutely incredible to watch. And then you had the U.S. Open, the national championships for freestyle and Greco-Roman, and now you're recruiting, trying to get stock your stable of bulldogs for the
Yeah,
future.
we're heavy recruiting. We're always recruiting year round. It's identifying the athletes. Now you got to try to find freshmen, sophomores, identify them, and June 15th of their sophomore year, we're able to communicate with them. So it's definitely a full-time job.
Uh huh. So and you kind of snuck. I don't know if it's sneaking or whatever, but you gave me some names of some kids that you're talking to yesterday that I've seen. I had the pleasure of um, broadcasting some of their matches at the Orca Duels. Some of the top wrestlers in California that you guys are trying to get into your team for the future. Looks good. What's happening there at Fresno State?
Yeah, we got the 13th best recruiting class in the country this year. The class of 2019. So we got five of the best kids from California committed to stay home. So we're excited about that. And
That's
we're
terrific.
always looking to add. We got Hunter Cruz from Washington, and
Yep.
we're looking regionally. We want kids from the region, from California, to want to stay home. So yeah, we're trying to build a great program out west.
Now, let's do a little history check. Tell us a little bit about your career. When did you first start wrestling as a youth?
Actually, I started late. I moved to Washington State from California, so I didn't start wrestling until seventh grade. And I was blessed to have a great coach, Boyd Ballard from Marysville. And the first taste of wrestling that I had was a year-round club program. So we trained freestyle Greco and trained year-round. So that's all I knew from the get-go. So from the start, we wrestled freestyle in the spring and summer. So that it kind of helped me gain a lot of success early.
Now, when you say you moved from California to Marysville, how is it you decided on wrestling, or how is it you got involved or found out about the club team?
Well, that's a funny story. I moved from California to Washington, and right away I got in some trouble in the middle school.
Oh,
You
really?
know,
I can't
yeah.
imagine. I can't imagine that.
And the principal of the middle school was the wrestling coach. So he told me, he's like, "Hey, I won't suspend you from school, but you got to come out for the wrestling program."
Excellent.
And that was a blessing in my life. And I remember that day vividly, and I credit him to the success I've had so far.
That is a smart man.
Yeah.
Trying to refocus your energies of being mischievous to doing something where you can actually uh, not get in trouble for roughhousing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's and I never turned back. I fell in love with it right away, and I had success early, and I just wanted to continue with it.
Did your parents, did your dad wrestle, or did he, any experience that it was just from this principal that was the wrestling coach?
No, I had a single mother. So a
Okay.
single mother. She raised us. Still doesn't know much about wrestling. She knows that I do it. And I made a career of it, but yeah, it was all my coaches. My coaches kind of drove me, and they instilled in me, and I was able to have great coaches and blessed with it.
Were you were you on the bigger side? Were you a heavyweight? Were you always in the upper
Always heavy,
weights?
yeah. From day one, I was always a heavyweight, and I actually played other sports growing up. I played basketball, I played soccer, and when I decided to switch to wrestling, I was bigger and more athletic than a lot of these heavyweights. That's why I had success early. I was more
Hmm.
aggressive and I was able to move, and I had success.
That's that's how we coached against you,
Yeah,
because we knew you were an athletic heavyweight. We had to slow that down a little bit. Um, so now you were a state champion in high school,
yep.
and then when did you start getting contacted to wrestle in college for yourself?
Actually, I was getting contacts my junior year. I won the state. I wrestled freestyle. I won the Western Regional and stuff like that. Just on the flip side, having that single mom, she didn't know. She didn't emphasize schoolwork and stuff like that. She was busy working two jobs. So unfortunately, I didn't keep my grades up. So I had to go junior college route. I was getting Division I looks and talks, but my grades weren't there. So I went to North Idaho and then wrestled for Coach Whitcomb, and I was close friends with Coach Owen there. So it was probably the best thing for me. That's where I met my wife. I was a two-time All-American there, and was part of a national championship team, and that's when I really learned how to apply myself in the school.
Just because you had to go junior college, but uh, I think we're directed in the path where we need to go.
Yeah.
Obviously, you met your wife there. You were a part of a national championship team. Tell us a little bit about how. I mean, you were a state champion, and you've won plenty of tournaments. We'll talk here in a minute about your international wrestling, but that team championship, it's pretty. That's a pretty cool thing that you're able to share with other people, isn't it?
No, it is. It's going to North Idaho, that they win national championships there, or they did in the past. And hopefully they regain that. But I came in as a freshman, the year before they won it, and I redshirted, and the team took third. But you hear of the John Owen teams, in the late '80s, early '90s of winning, and that was the culture. So you're working to be part of a national championship team, and we did that. And I think 8 of our 10 guys from our national championship team went on to wrestle Division One.
8 of the 9. Well, that's terrific. That's a
Yeah, 8 of the 10.
that's
So
an amazing number that actually were able to continue on. And you yourself left the Northwest, and you traveled almost always more than halfway across the country to wrestle at Tennessee Chattanooga. Tell us how that came about.
well, I wanted to stay close to home, but I got a call from Terry Brands. The one of the Brands brothers calls you and talks to you and is interested in you and wants you. You get fired up. So he was at Tennessee Chattanooga at the time. I didn't know where the conference was, what division they were, but I wanted to go wrestle for Terry Brands. You know what I mean? And I went there and I made that leap, and it was another good decision. I was able to wrestle 6, 7 years after college because of the things that Coach Brands instilled in me. He said, hey, it's not just about wrestling the NCAA tournament. It's about winning world Olympic medals. It's about wrestling post graduation. So I took that to heart, and that's what I wanted to do. And that was because of Coach Brands.
And essentially that set you up into some great coaching opportunities that you were able to capitalize from, and that has set you up into the situation that you're in now. Tell us your transition after you finished at Chattanooga. you stayed on there and you were an assistant, you're a volunteer assistant, but you're
Yeah.
also starting your international career representing Mexico.
Well, early on, I in 2006 I graduated and I started wrestling 2 years internationally. I was assistant coach for 3 years, but I wrestled my first 2 years internationally for the U.S.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, so I was wrestling, and I was top four, top five guy in the U.S. And Kevin Jackson was the coach at the time, and at the time I got approached by Mexico. They wanted to invest in their freestyle program, and I had dual citizenship, so they approached me, and I talked to Coach Jackson, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, what do you think about this opportunity?" And he said, "Hey, go do it. You look at Russia. There's guys that are Russian that are wrestling for Azerbaijan, that are wrestling for
All over.
Ukraine, that are wrestling for all those Eastern Bloc countries, but they're all Russian." So I did switch over after the 2008 Olympic trials, and I wrestled for Mexico for the next 4 years. But I did all my training in the U.S. I still went all the U.S. training camps, so it was a great experience. I was able to wrestle in two world championships, and I was an alternate for the Olympics in 2012.
And would you say the learning experience from all of that extra wrestling has made your an invaluable asset to your coaching portfolio, if you will?
Yeah, I think just traveling the world. I mean, I've been blessed to wrestle in 30 different countries, and now even as a coach, part of the USA wrestling staff, volunteer staff, I'm able to be around a lot of great coaches, and I pick their brains and I talk to them, and I've been doing that for 10 years now, and just learning little things from Kevin Jackson, from Coach Steiner, from Coach Brands, from Coach Joe Russell, from Zeke Jones. All these coaches I've been around, I've been blessed, and I kind of see how they operate, and I try to emulate certain things that'll fit my coaching style. So, yeah, I think I'm always evolving, and I'm looking forward to keep growing as a coach.
Now you just mentioned a handful of guys that are, if not current, but soon to be Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Yeah, I am.
I
I'm
lost
back.
you.
I got a phone call. Somebody's trying to sell me something. Um, uh,
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to be coached by Kevin Jackson when I went to the Veterans World Championships. Jamie O'Eyes and I went down and wrestled veterans back in 2000, and Kevin was our coach that USA Wrestling sent to Germany with us, and I had the opportunity to also travel with Kevin as an athletic trainer, and one of the finest coaches that I've been able to work with and be coached by. And what a great opportunity to be able to go and confide with him. Hey, I got a great opportunity to go. What do you think about it? And he was for me. Kevin was always whatever's best for the guy. Whatever's best. It's a team
Exactly.
thing, but it's so individual in that you're the only person out there on the mat at the time, and
Yeah.
what a great opportunity to be able to work with all of those guys. Um, Another coach you worked with that I was able to be an athletic trainer for was Chris Bono. And
Yeah.
tell us a story about Chris. I want to hold something over Chris if I could. He's currently the head coach at
He's
Wisconsin.
definitely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was able to wrestle. I wrestled for Chris. He was an assistant coach my senior year. Coach Brands left, went to the Olympic Training Center, and then Chris was an assistant coach. And at the time, we had Joe C was the head coach. We had Chris Bono, Sammy Henson, Steve Hamilton were our assistant coaches,
Wow.
and we had Leon Crump was our director of operations. That's who I trained with every day. But yeah, after I graduated, Chris got the head coaching job at Chattanooga, and he gave me the opportunity to coach underneath him for 3 years. So I'm very grateful for that. And then when I went to Oregon State, after 3 years. My wife was pregnant with our twin boys, so I wanted to move closer to home. I coached there for a little bit, and then Chris got the job at South Dakota State, and he hired me right away. So it was good. I'm grateful for the opportunities that Bono gave me. He's definitely a very, very intense individual, and I'm thankful for the opportunities he gave me.
You mentioned something about how Coach Bono actually went out and got you as soon as he got the job at South Dakota State. Something that Coach Steiner, when he got the job at Fresno State, he went out and got you to come and help rebuild this program. But something that he said was that he said, "I know I will be able to trust him in helping build the Bulldog Wrestling program," and the fact that you have developed a trust by these head coaches shows a lot. And I don't mean to embarrass you, Izzy, but that's a cool thing to have the confidence of these coaches that are looking to you to help them build their programs.
Yeah, it's awesome. And with Troy was my coach when I was competing for Mexico. So Troy and I developed a great relationship. We traveled the world together. He was in my corner, as I was trying to wrestle in the Olympics. So, we became close friends, and he knows I'm loyal to him, and I believe in his vision, and I trust in the process that he's doing. So Troy knows I'll always have his back. So it's Coach Steiner's second to none in this coaching world. I mean, I would give my life for him, and he knows that, and we work well together.
Now, he has a twin brother, Terry, and he is the head women's wrestling coach for the USA Wrestling. And just recently, you were able to work with him at the Pan. Tell me that story.
So I've been helping out with the women's program because of my relationship with Troy since 2012, since I retired. So I think Troy and I were one of the first college coaches that volunteered our time and helped with the women's program. And now it's, everyone's doing it. Coach Smith at Oklahoma State and Coleman Scott there, everyone's helping. But I think we were one of the first pioneers of the Division I coaches to help the women's program. And it's awesome. I love working with those ladies, and, they're driven just as much as the men, and their technique is everything just like the men. So, yeah, I was able to go to Argentina. This is my third Pan Ams with the women's program, and, we wrestled well. And at the same time, I was able to be down there with Joe Colon when he wrestled and won the Pan Ams.
Oh, that's cool, because you and Joe have become close friends in the fact that he's on the staff there at Fresno State as a volunteer assistant. How valuable is it to have a guy that's at a weight where he can kind of range up and down from his weight and wrestle a bunch of the kids that are currently college wrestlers?
I think it's awesome. It's great. We have him and Jason Chamberlain.
Jason Chamberlain as well.
Those guys are still active. So it kind of shows our guys how the training's supposed to look, the dedication that you put into it. And we also have 4 other guys in our regional training center that train full-time freestyle, trying to make the world team. So it's been great. Those guys are very, very valuable. Those guys are trying to win world Olympic medals, and our guys, all they need to do is kind of see what they're doing, mimic what they're doing, and they'll have success in the college level.
And I understand you're a busy guy, but go ahead. And do you have to take care of that, or is you good? We good?
No, we're good. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you say that you have all these extra guys there at your regional training center, explain to the folks here actually what a regional training center is.
So it's from USA Wrestling. It allows guys post-grads the opportunity to keep training and provide their living expenses. So nowadays, if you want to be competitive in Division I, you have to have the regional training center. So you kind of recruit these post-grads, and really it's built for post-grads that come from your university to train and have a place to train and live after graduation if they have the aspirations to be World Olympic champs. So, we have 4 resident guys that are post-grads that are, Division I All-Americans, national champs that have trained full-time at Fresno State.
Now, that gives the adage of iron sharpens iron, and so these guys are actually working with your college team, making your college team even that much tougher.
Yeah, and, quick story, when I was at Oregon State, I was part of the regional training center, and my main workout partners were Taylor Meeks and Clayton Jack. Taylor Meeks was a freshman at the time, redshirting, anytime I needed a workout or somebody to drill with or somebody to do extra stuff with, I called on Taylor Meeks. You know what I mean? And I think because of how he saw how I train and how much I put into it, Taylor Meeks kind of applied it to his college career, and he became a Division I All-American and had success. So I tell that story all the time. These regional training center athletes are very, very valuable. And also at the time, when I was at Oregon State, you know, we had myself, Nick Simmons, Heinrich Barnes. The Oregon State team finished twice in the top 10 of the NCAA's.
And when you have those guys in the room uh, during the college year, it only makes for good, solid practices and, like I said, iron sharpening iron. What when you look at how many years has Fresno State's wrestling program been back? And because you got hired in 2016, was that the first year back? The program was reinstated.
So this is our second year of competition. We've been back for 3 years. So they gave us a
Uh-huh.
full year to kind of put everything in place. We recruited a full team in 1 year. And, you know, in that first year, we didn't have any facilities, no workout partners, nothing. And we recruited a top 20 recruiting class, you know. So that first year was just recruiting. Last year, 2 years ago, was our first year of competition. And we just finished our second year of competition.
Okay, so 18 was your first. Okay, now that's a daunting task. When you got hired in 2016, uh, looking at the, I don't know, you guys have a five. Did you guys have a 5 year plan?
Yeah, Coach Silva had a 5 year plan, so and we're kind of executing it. You know, same thing with our scholarships and our roster. You know, Coach said, "Hey, we don't need all our scholarships or our roster spots in the first year." So, in our first year, we had 22 spots, 4.5 scholarships. Last year, we moved up to 27 spots, and up to 7.5 scholarships. And this year will be the first year where we have our full allotment of roster, 32 guys, and 9.9 scholarships.
Oh, that's terrific. So, and you have an incredible group of young men to choose from. I had the opportunity to broadcast the Orca duels, and not and it's hard to get a champion to commit to wrestle for the Orca teams. And what it
Yeah.
is it's a high school all star team from Oregon, California, and that's the Orca ORCA. And then Washington invited ourselves back in 2011, and we've been bringing a team every year. And these three teams it's a triple duel, and somebody sits and two teams wrestle, and there's 3 rounds. And the last 2 years we've had women's wrestling, so it's a heavy active day of wrestling, and the California team this year was just lights out. Not one champion, but we had four second place finishers. But man, what a tough group of kids from California. And so you have being how many other D1 schools are currently in California? You and
We have we have Stanford, Cal Poly, Bakersfield, uh, us, and Cal Baptist. So there's 5 Division I schools.
but you have an up and coming uh, program that is very enticing, and you've been able to go out and sell these kids to your guys' program, and the success you've had so far and the potential of it. Um, Now, is your facility coming along the way you want it to? Or are you guys are you continuing to work on building new facilities and improving that kind of thing?
No, it's our new facilities will be done at the end of this month. So we can move in
Awesome.
there. We have brand new locker rooms, a wrestling room that's got remodeled, and we knocked down some walls and we added a weight room, brand new offices. So end of the month, end of May, we're finally in there.
And you guys have to be pretty happy about all of that transpiring. No better time to have new stuff to be able to uh, afford the kids great facilities and a place to grow and get better.
Yeah, we were not in the ideal situation these last 2 years, but at the same time, Joe Colon won a world bronze medal out of the room that we were training in.
Yeah.
Josh Hokett became an NCAA All-American in that room. So we never used it as a crutch, or we never complained about it as a, hey, we got mats where we can get the training done. So, but it will be nice to finally get in our facility for sure.
Since you brought Josh up, Josh Hokett was actually a two-sport athlete, and I'm not tooting my horn. I'm just saying I know how hard that is because I was a two-sport athlete. It's not an easy thing to do, but he comes from football to where he probably didn't do a whole lot of wrestling during the football season, but then he starts into the wrestling season and becomes an All-American for the Fresno State Bulldogs. Tell us a little bit about Josh.
Josh is a special kid. He's very driven, very motivated. He has dreams, and he works on those dreams every day. So yeah, he doesn't practice much. Football is very, very demanding with his time. So he, as the season got on, he started bringing his weight down a little bit, but he wrestled in the bowl game December 15th against Arizona State. They won the bowl game Saturday afternoon. Sunday he was back, or Saturday night he was back in Fresno. Sunday we had wrestling practice. He was there. 4 days later he wrestled in the Reno Tournament of Champions.
Oh,
So
wow.
it takes a special kid to do that.
Yes, it does.
And then sure enough, he loses his first round match, not because of, it's just muscle conditioning. It wasn't there. So he wrestled 6 matches. He went on and took third. And, then 2 weeks later, he wrestled the Midlands and placed at the Midlands. So Josh takes it one day at a time, one practice at a time, whether it be football, whether it be wrestling. And he's very driven, very motivated. He wants to make it to the NFL, and he knows, there's tons of guys in the country that have his ability in the football field, but there's not one of them that are NCAA All-American. So he knows that'll separate him, that'll give him the opportunity. So those are his goals.
That's cool. That's very, very cool. Because there's lots of coaches out there in the NFL right now that are looking. There's all kinds of information out there how NFL coaches are actually looking for guys that had wrestling experience in their background just because of the benefit of the cross training, or actually just some of the aptitudes that wrestlers bring to the football field. But that's a very, very cool story about Josh, and I wish him the best. And he's a junior, right? So he has another year. He has a year of football. Is he going to be a senior in football and a senior in wrestling?
No, he's actually he finished his sophomore year, so he's got 2 years of wrestling.
Oh,
1 more year of football. He's actually,
senior.
they're actually thinking about moving him from running back to linebacker.
He has more of a linebacker.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
You
so
gotta
actually says a lot about his
yeah,
ability.
you gotta like that. And what weights he wrestle at?
197.
197. That's what I was thinking. Let's see. I want to make sure I have now this season. And going back to the 5-year question, are you guys seeing that you're on your progression? Are you a little ahead of schedule? Are you behind? Or are you guys happy with where you're at right now with the success that you guys had this last wrestling season in the college year?
Coach Snyder's goal last year going in is, whether it's realistic or not, these are his goals. We need to be a top 10 team. So we didn't reach there, but we definitely made a lot of strides, and in other people's eyes, in our community's eyes, and we're definitely ahead of schedule. Nobody would have thought that we're having the success that we're having this early. When our first year, like I said, we didn't have anybody, and then we had 2 NCAA qualifiers. We finished 11th in the Big 12. This last year, we had 5 NCAA qualifiers, and we finished 5th in the Big 12. So, we're exceeding other people's expectations.
That's a big jump. I was just saying. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, so like I said, we're exceeding other people's expectations, but for us, it's not enough. You know what I mean? Which that's our mentality. You know, we brought 5 guys to the tournament, and only one of them became an All-American. So we had 4 guys, not get the job done, and we had 5 guys at home that didn't make the tournament. So those are the kind of things that we look at. Yeah, we're definitely having success. We're happy at the growth of the program, but we're never satisfied, and we definitely want to keep growing.
Now, because you this was only your second year of competition, did you have any seniors on the team?
No, we don't graduate anybody. We're a very young team, and all 5 of our qualifiers return, and then we add the top 15 recruiting class to it.
That's you got to feel good about the prospects for next year. When do you when do you get to start having organized practices with these guys?
So we'll start preseason end of August. So we'll have a 6 weeks preseason, and then official start of the season is October 10th.
And that's when official practices can start, or is that when you first start competing?
No, that's when we start official practices. That's
Okay.
when in the preseason we only get eight hours with our guys, and that'll be our strength and our conditioning and our drills. And then October 10th we get 20 hours a week with our guys.
Okay. Now, are you guys requiring a training, a study hall, and that kind of stuff to help them with their academics?
Yeah. Our freshmen and transfers in their first year, they're required 8 hours of study hall. So they can come in at any time of the day. They swipe in with their ID card, and they have our academic advisor. That's where all your tutors are. They're all provided for free. So yeah, they're required 8 hours a week of study hall, and then if you get above a 3.0, you can opt out of study hall, and if you ever drop below a 3.0, we put you back in.
Put you back in. That way you can keep track of their progress in the classroom. Because I imagine that's a high priority of Coach Steiner and you, that your kids come away with a degree first and foremost, because that's what's going to set them up for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. We want to make sure they leave our program in good hands and that they're set themselves up for life.
Now, you had mentioned that you moved back home to be close because your wife had your guys' twins. You have 3 boys, is that correct?
Yep, I have a 14-year-old son. He's an 8th grader, and then I have my twin boys that are in 3rd grade.
And they are they've been in the room. They play football, all kinds of athletics. These kids are quite. Was your wife an athlete when you met her at NIC?
Yeah, she played basketball for North Idaho, and then she was also a couple-time Idaho State champ in the hurdles.
Oh, cool. So a very athletic family. These kids are going to be something to watch for here in the future, huh?
Yeah, my wife's tougher on the boys than I am. She's definitely holds them accountable, and with my schedule, she's the one that takes them to their practices, and she sees their effort, and if it's not how she wants it, she'll definitely let them know.
That's a good. Well, you always, you have to get these kids. Sometimes you have to drive them yourself. Now, with the fact that you're a young father, and you have this busy schedule and this busy job, you're obviously on the road right now. Tell us what you're doing this weekend, the rest of the weekend, after this recruiting trip.
I was recruiting yesterday. I'll be recruiting today. Saturday, I have a clinic that I'm running. It's actually one of my former teammates from Marysville. He actually lives in LA now, and he contacted me. So I'm going to do a clinic for him on Saturday, and then Sunday I leave for New York and to coach Joe Colon at the Beat the Streets.
And he's wrestling the national champion Nick Soriano for this special exhibition. There's quite a few different special, and you can watch this all on Flow Wrestling. How did they contact Joe to wrestle Nick?
Well, we knew going into the NCAA tournament, because Beat the Streets has different ideas, different themes that they do. A lot of times they'll bring international teams to face the U.S. stars, but this year they kind of said, hey, we want to go the champions from the NCAAs versus the world team members. So we knew all along, watching the tournament, that Joe might have wrestled Dayton Fix or he's going to wrestle Nick Soriano. So that was kind of the idea that Beat the Streets had.
And Joe's excited about this, I imagine.
I think Joe's excited anytime he gets to compete.
Compete.
He's not worried too much about the opponent. He wants the opportunity to wrestle at Madison Square Garden, and those are great life experiences. So Joe be ready to go.
Now he had a pretty successful career in college as well. How many years has he been out actually? He trying to think. He's four.
I think he's been
Is it 4?
4 or 5 years. He's been done with
Yeah,
college.
yeah. Because he was always a guy you knew that would give you everything he had every match. Watching him through his college career, Northwestern, right? Didn't he? No, it was Northern Iowa. Excuse
No,
me.
he wrestled Northern Iowa.
Northern Iowa. That's right. Um, uh, so, what is it that drives you each day? I mean, you're away from your family. You have a very intense job that's physical in that because you get on the mat and wrestle with the guys as well, don't you? Yeah. So
Yeah,
what
probably 3 or 4 days a week.
what drives you, Israel? What keeps you motivated and going?
Just I've had great coaches along my way. In high school and college, and you know, I've always wanted to be a Division One coach. I mean, now I have aspirations to be a Division One head coach, but I want to give back to people like people give back to me. I want to provide an outlet for individuals to kind of accomplish and have the same experiences that I did. So I don't think of it as a job. I don't think I wake up every day. I put some sweats on. I go to workouts in the morning. I'm around young people, and I'm trying to guide them through their life, and I'm able to recruit people, and I work with some awesome individuals with Troy and Joe and Jason. So I wake up blessed every day. You know what I mean? So I just want to give back to the sport that's given me so much.
And at the end of the day, you can lay your head on the pillow and know that you gave it everything you had. That's something that's satisfying.
Yeah, it's I mean, for how I got started in the sport and where I'm at and the experiences I've had and the world travel, I mean, to me, it's a miracle. I should have never had these experiences. I mean, I could have easily gone a different route or ended up somewhere else, but by the grace of God, I've been able to make a career, out of wrestling, and I'm very grateful for it.
Do, do you often look back at that moment when that principal stopped you and said, uh, "Hey, I'm going to suspend you, or you can go to wrestling practice"? Do you often think back of that?
Almost every day, almost every day.
And
And I have the
is there a kid that goes through your program that doesn't hear that story?
no, I share it with certain individuals at certain times, kind of my story. But now I've gotten involved with our president of the university and other people, and I want to do more speaking. We have a big Hispanic population here in Fresno and in the Central Valley. So I've kind of talked to our president of the university, Dr. Castro, and I want to be out and speak more to elementary schools and young kids and kind of share my story that, I was able to accomplish a lot because of the sport of wrestling and because of that people that invested their time in me. So I'm kind of getting involved more in the public speaking.
Um, Now, when you feel you have the support from the administration, you guys kind of are on top of the world, and it helps keep you guys motivated with what you're doing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the president of the university brought the program back. It wasn't the athletic director at the time. It wasn't anyone else. It was the president. So Dr. Castro loves wrestling. He's at every single wrestling match. He's sitting there. His wife's there. Their child's there. He comes to our banquets. He's very active on social media, he's tweeting at us and tweeting stuff about the wrestling program. And, we're very fortunate to have the support from the very top. We don't take it for granted, and we want to make sure that he took a lot of criticism when he wanted to bring the program back. And, we've kind of done well and made him look good. And, we want to continue to let people know that he made the right decision in bringing the program back.
Can you tell me who it was that was giving the president grief over bringing wrestling back?
I think it was just a lot of his cabinet. I don't know who exactly it was, but the community loves him for it. The coaches and the youth and everyone involved, praise him for it. But just, bringing wrestling back at any level is not the norm. It's not being
Right.
done. And he was very bold in his thinking, and he was very forward thinking. And he knew the Central Valley in California is the best area in the state and one of the best areas in the country for wrestling. And a lot of them are Hispanic kids, you know what I mean? And he wants them to use wrestling as a means to get an education to kind of better themselves. And then they go back to their communities and kind of lift their communities up as well.
And you got to love the fact that you're getting the support where you need it, because as you know, I'm Boise State. It was purported to be there, and then it actually wasn't. But you guys are on the other end of it, where you have a president that's proactive. He loves the sport. He sees the benefit of it for the not only for the participants, but also for the community. Because what was the something that we haven't talked about? Didn't you guys garner one of the top attendance on this year's wrestling season in the nation? What was your
Yeah,
ranking?
in our in our first year, we were number 5 in the country in attendance. We averaged just under 5,000 fans, and then this year we finished 9th in the top 10. And Coach Steiner wasn't happy about that, so we've already begun planning for next year to get that attendance back up. So, but yeah, we're averaging about 4,000 or 5,000 fans every home match.
Oh, you got to love that. You got to love that you're having that much
Yeah, it's
support
great.
and that many people coming out. What do you
Yeah,
guys
it's
have?
awesome. Our guys love it.
What plans do you have to make your guys' events even more fan friendly and more exciting to go to?
Well, our marketing team does an amazing job of it. I mean, if you go, to one of our matches, it's not just roll the mats out and 2 teams going at it. It's a show. We have music, we have DJs, we have our cheerleaders, we have giveaways. I mean, we want people to bring their families like they're going to a concert, like they're going to catch a show. You know what I mean? So it's not just come in, wrestle 10 matches, and leave. So
Right.
we put on a great show. Our marketing team is awesome, and it's a great experience. So yeah, it's the lights are out. There's spotlights on the mat. There's music playing. There's a lot of fan engagement. So our marketing team does an amazing job.
And you gotta love the interaction between the different departments, all functioning together to make it fan friendly. And uh, in that area, you got Clovis. You have name some of the other top high schools in California wrestling right in that area, because you live in
Well,
Clovis.
we have Buchanan High School there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Buchanan. They're top 3 in the country. We have Clovis High. They're top 10 in the country. Clovis North, they're top 20. Selma High School is 15 miles down the road. Um, Gilroy's a couple hours away. Bakersfield. So we probably have 5 or 6 of the top 25 high schools in the country within an hour from us. And really, um, 4 of them are within 20 miles of us.
Now, Gilroy, isn't that where DC's coaching? Daniel Cormier is coaching at Gilroy, isn't that right?
Yep. Yeah, Daniel's a good friend of mine. I've known him, back when I was wrestling in the U.S. I was one of his training partners. So we've had a great relationship. And we have his 195 pounder, who's a state champ, Ryan Reyes, is coming to Fresno State next year.
Oh, so there's a great connection there. And tell us how that correlation between MMA and wrestling has actually assisted the wrestling world. Because I know that wrestling has really assisted the MMA world. How has the MMA world assisted wrestling?
I think guys like Cormier and Ben Askren and those guys are making great careers out of MMA, but they're wrestlers at heart, and they're always advocating for USA Wrestling and like Daniel's, one of the top stars in the UFC, and he donates his time to be the head wrestling coach at Gilroy High School, and he's traveling, so they love wrestling, so they've kind of put wrestling out there as an important piece and development for MMA, but and it also has given some of our college stars an avenue to continue to compete and make some money.
And that's something that's pretty insight. It's a very good incentive for these young men because they're the pro wrestling isn't like pro football where college football players can go out and play pro football. There's not that job opportunity to continue your wrestling career. You can go on to USA Wrestling, and there are some guys that have been able to make a lot of money, but the transition, especially if you have the mental acumen to be okay with getting punched in the face. Have you ever done any MMA?
I haven't. I've always just wanted to wrestle. I mean, wrestling and then coaching. But I've definitely been part of a few MMA camps. I've helped John Jones with some of his camps and some other guys. And I've been up to AKA with Cormier and those guys. So I've been around it, but just in the wrestling aspect.
You got to love it. It's a wonderful opportunity. A lot of people don't. The combat sports don't. But for most wrestlers, I think most wrestlers really get after the fact that there is that sport there. Um,
Yeah.
now, uh, I have a couple more questions for you. What did you get your degree in?
I got it
You
in
yeah, in your
sociology, and I got and a minor in psychology.
oh, so that really does come into play, being a wrestling coach. You use that all the time.
Yeah, just with the sociology, the study of I mean society and stuff like that, and different races and stuff like that. I use it all the time. I'm very happy with that, and definitely psychology. Just being able to read people and different ways to motivate different guys. So they both have definitely helped.
Um, what what is, and this is probably my last question. When you're talking to these high school kids, what is it you're telling them about Fresno State?
Really, it's we're recruiting heavy California, but it's for the first time California